Right, here is the new system of mounting. Now you can see inside the air scoop in front of the radiator. This is the black plastic section of the bumper, and this is the blue painted section that's fiberglass. And they've got foam in behind them and various other fittings and bits and pieces of their structure. But this system here, you mount this 10mm bolt with a slightly different way, because I'm using rectangle, this stuff here, rectangle cheb. Might grab that. Now, rectangle cheb. It's 2mm thick, and it's 2 centimetres by 1 centimetre. You can see how what the shaping of that is from that there. Just making sure the light doesn't glow it too much. But that's the rear one, that's the rearmost piece. This piece here, this is called channel or C-frame, and it has one side missing to it, so it's not rectangle of any form or square or anything like that. But it's 1.5mm. It's something like 1 centimetre, 1.5 centimetre gauge. 1.5mm thick is what it is, but it's about 1.2 centimetres, 1.2 centimetre by 1.2 centimetre. So each of these outer sides are 1.2 centimetre. The thickness of the aluminium is 1.5 millimetres. Thickness here is 2 millimetres, and the mounting system is a different way. I've just had to adjust all of this because I was just making another video, and just in a few more things we'll learn that this needs to be as high up on that central plastic bar of the scoop as possible. This is all about how to mount a 7.5-inch driving light, which is not very heavy, without a bull bar, onto a Subaru Outback from make year 2003 to make year 2009. Those 2.5 litres and the 3 litre 6 cylinders and stuff that have a system like this on their scoop. So you can see part 1 and part 2, and the legs and these short bits up the top here. Let's see if we can get enough light. There we are, nearly enough light. Now I can show it. These legs here are the original mounts, and they have a swivel on them. But to get all of this into place, make sure that that's right up the top of the bar. Now, there's a reason for the C-frame sitting in front up against the back of the light just above the connector. There's a connector about where my finger is, where the electricity connects to the light. Right? That has to sit above that, and that open side stops the air from being blocked to the cooling fins on the back of the lamp. Why this is there is to stop the back of those cooling fins chewing into the piece of black plastic that forms part of the central support, upright support of the scoop, the plastic scoop that's part of the bumper of the vehicle. So that stops that overheating, and it stops it chafing or cutting in, so just having that flat edge. This other bar here goes behind, this is the rectangle bar, it goes behind that central upright that central plastic upright. And it's not too bad a system, this. A bit more to show you in it, in how to undo it and put it in. But I found the problem, it's just able to point down. I adjusted that so it is effectively pointing downwards. Right, it doesn't point down much, and it only needs to point down about 2 degrees, which is about what it requires. These are all the same shape and size. You might need to wedge some rubber tube or something, cut some specially to put this padding up here to push that down or push that up according to the legs, but you need to loosen all 4 off gently to adjust the angle. But it should look something like that if you put it in, if you've used the same equipment. So It's a very interesting, weird setup, but it's the only thing that works, and it's the only way of doing that without a on a Subaru Outback, without a bull bar and without a nudge bar. Yeah, there we go. This is where this gets a little bit difficult. There's some special notches up the back there. You can see that sort of self-tapper. I just, where my thumb is, if you move across to the right, you'll see a self-tapper that's holding a hinge-like thing on. That just stops that sliding left and right on that upright there. You can really see the upright now. Just see that a bit behind there. No. Whoops. Don't force it. Just pop it upwards. And what I've got to remember to do, one-handed, is to not break this. So that's a very difficult sort of a thing to do. Are we out? No, the other ones. Sorry. See that notch there? Look at that notch there pushing up against it that I built, that you could see in the foreground also, was in the way. Right, so it's a different, this is all a different setup to what I had. So you have two pieces. This sits against the back of the light above that electrical connector. Right, that just stops the light and the cooling fins. Let's see the light there. See these ridges here on the back of it. Oops. All that for the light. Move over like that, yeah. All of those ridges there are the cooling fins for the light. This sits up against that, and the flat edge of this prevents this thing here at the front from being chewed into. That stops that from being chewed into, and it stops the heat of the cooling fin from melting that. This piece here, that goes behind that, up behind it, and that's got a sharp edge on it. This thing isn't solid, this upright that's in the middle of the air scoop in the bumper. Right? It's just a sharp edge at the back on either side. So this happens to be 2 centimetres of flat edge, so that doesn't compress and squash the plastic. It's quite ample for holding it together now. And don't forget, these bolts, that should sit up as high as possible, up here behind the back of it. Where I get the light on it. There we go. Up here, where I'm tapping my finger, right up the top there. The top of that should be. Whoops, the top of that rear one should be. So, now, there we have a wing nut on the other side, and there we have that, which when you want to put that on, you need to spin that back out of the way, because when you come to tighten the wing nut against that, that'll squash the plastic. So you do squash the plastic a little bit until there's a good, solid, hard tension. It doesn't do much. You don't need to reefer weight it. Once you do, know that you've pretty much got your wing nut very tight with your fingers, because it's very awkward at that angle. You wind this up to here. Now you can use something like a spanner to give it half a turn, and then it will not come loose. So this, like I say, is on this side with the light. And so it's a very serious juggle. And you've seen in part 1 and part 2 what you're doing with these bits and pieces here. How to make the legs, and how to make the this here. Oops, getting the light. How to make that the connectors at the side that put the bolts to the back through all of these. So it's changed from part 1. It's now got 2 pieces, but that protects against the heat from the lamp. That one at the back squashes the 2 together, and they then can hold onto this upright without damaging it. It's upright there without damaging it. And the legs adjusted to an angle something like that, because it has to point down about 1 or 2 degrees, because it's a very straight ahead sort of light. You won't be shining it into anyone's eyes in any great actuality. So it'll look something like that from side on. I want to get the, yeah, it's very difficult to get the light on the side of the, I think there. So that's how to put that in to a Subaru Outback without a bull bar or a nudge bar. Like I say, you'll have to go to your hardware store and see what you can sort out for these sorts of shelving, bits of shelving metal. Another point, if you can't get the angles and the heights out of it, where these bolts go through, you can get yourself a small enough coarse file and file them back upwards and downwards centrally, so that you've got a bit of slip this way and that of how high you can make your legs. Or you can put more rubber underneath the leg there, or you can put more rubber underneath that top mount there. So just remember, you need to use C-frame for that up against that, so the air can get to those cooling fins, and that you've got a flat back side of it to push up against the upright. That is 20 millimetre. Oh, I haven't explained these. Yeah, that's a self-tapper with a couple of washers underneath it. If you look at this thing here, the bottom of it is narrower than the top. So this points at a bit of an angle. And this here is one of these elbow pieces of metal that's for shelving, that's been cut down the centre where that bolt goes through. It's been on one edge of it, one side of it, it's been cut down the centre to shorten it. And it shortened it because between this thing and that thing, if that's longer than this, it's longer than this is wide. But it's solid as a rock. It has no trouble.